So the reason we have this drawn as a circle is we can show how it affects each other. Kind of like a car wheel. If you have a flat tire in your car, one side's flat, it's not going to drive very well. So the same concept here. There's not really a specific order. We can kind of arrange that a little bit, but for this purpose, we're just going to draw this as a circle and show you how each one has an effect and what your overall fitness could look like. So we have we have 4 of them that I'm going to say are yours. Some people argue that we have consistency and range of motion. I'm going to put range of motion on you because I really think that you can be working on that outside of the gym. We give you all the tools during the warm-ups and even some of our strength stuff that you can do at home to help improve that. That's a big one. So I'm going to take the first one here. We'll start with at nutrition, go all the way through sleep, and we're going to come back up from consistency and range of motion. That's on you. The 23 hours a day that you're not here at the gym, you can work on all of those things. The rest of them, we'll say this is where our programming and Sasquatch comes in on these. So this is what we control, this is what you control. So now that we've identified who's responsible for what's up to you, what's up to us, we're going to go through and grade ourselves on this, and we're going to chat a little bit about each piece. So the first one that we're going to address here is consistency. I know a lot of people think that they go to the gym a lot more often or exercise more than they do. That's just one piece of it. Are you sleeping consistently? Is your nutrition consistent? Are you practicing each of these things consistently? If not, they're not going to expand. So let's say you might be getting good conditioning because you like going on those big 5-mile runs, but you don't like weightlifting. So you would have an imbalance in there in those things. So first thing we're going to talk about though is actually just getting to the gym, simply because we are responsible for blending the conditioning, weightlifting, and all that. So we do that in our daily program. You have the consistency. So let's say you're in here 3 days a week. We're gonna give you about a 5 on that one, I think, because we actually program so that you could come in every day of the week and then chat with your coach and discuss which things you should scale, how you should scale based on how you feel. So we'd like to see you anywhere from 4 to 6 times a week. And then you being constant in your sleep and nutrition. So let's go range of motion now. So range of motion, let's say you're pretty good, you're pretty mobile, you apply what you've learned here in your daily life. You kind of do another lacrosse ball, foam roller at home, do some static stretching. Even if you've done a functional movement screen, maybe you do know what a score is out of a 1 to 10 on that. Let's just say you're pretty diligent on it. You're in here getting loose every day before you do your mud runs and stuff. You're out there stretching and getting yourself prepared. Range of motion is super important as well, because if we're loading dysfunction in our conditioning, our body weight or our basic strength or our weightlifting, that's going to be detrimental. So we need that range of motion to be the best that we can get it, and always working to improve it if we're not already there. So super important, because it has a carryover into making everything else be good and keeping you from becoming injured or hurt. Because as soon as that joint is moving off axis, your shoulder, or actually let's go to our hip or our knee. If our hip or our knee is moving wrong on one leg, it's going to cause the hip on the other to actually have a problem as well. So getting ourselves into that correct range of motion and establishing that baseline should be one of our number 1 goals. All right, let's talk about conditioning now. So I like strength more, not conditioning. I think they're actually, these two things are equally important. But for most people just coming off the couch and getting a base of GPP, or that general physical preparedness, where you're just kind of a mix of everything. Conditioning is a little bit important because that's going to have more carryover into things like our heart rate, our resting heart rate, our blood pressure, what we're able to do cardiovascular wise, which is going to have more carryover than strength immediately in your health. But if we can get stronger, it makes a lot of these other things easier. So getting that conditioning built up is big. And let's just say we're at a 7 on that because we feel like we can do some sprint work. Maybe we can run a couple miles. Maybe not like a 5K, super fast paced, but we can get it done. That's what we're looking for. So conditioning and what our aerobic capacity is and our ability to do sprints, mid-distance work, and long-distance stuff all at the same time. And once again, it has that carryover to that health and fitness on our blood work and our biomarkers, which is really important for overall fitness. Unloaded body weight movements or gymnastic stuff, moving your body through space. Super important. One, we can't really start loading, or we shouldn't really start getting too crazy on our load and even progressing to the weightlifting until we can master the basics of movement without a load. Our range of motion is going to help determine that. So we can't really score much higher than a 7 on this because we don't have the range of motion on this chart. And what it does is it helps us to be able to repeat tasks over and over again, like let's say air squats and pull-ups. Like building that volume on that is going to help that muscular endurance. It's not necessarily conditioning. I mean, it is to an extent, but the conditioning here will also help you provide that ATP and that fuel needed to fire the muscles. And so we want this one to be good before we really move into that basic strength. So if you hear our coaches talking a lot about trying to master some of the body weight stuff, like the air squat especially, that's going to have carryover to this, and it's going to also, everything that's exposed here is going to be exposed there, but now you have a huge potential for injury. So we want this to be one of our focuses, and it also has a carryover into that overall fitness, because if you can run, jump, climb, all that good stuff, then your overall fitness is going to be better depending on any situation that you may get thrown into out there in life, whether it's running from the zombie apocalypse, if that happens, or unloading groceries, putting stuff up on the shelves in the garage. So not quite what you need for loaded strength, but we'll still call that body weight. But let's just say you're at a, we'll just call it a 5 there, because you wing way out on your push-ups, and then your knees cave, and you're really super duck-footed on your squats. Plus, you can't be better than a 7 because you don't have the conditioning to go deep enough into it, and your range of motion isn't quite there on maybe, let's say, your shoulders or something. So we're gonna give ourselves a 5 on that. Strength, my favorite thing. You might have just seen that smile kick up a little bit. Strength is never a weakness. You can never be too strong. And there's a big difference between size and strength. So you can be massive like bodybuilder, and then your mobility and range of motion, conditioning, body weight stuff could be potentially compromised. But if you are strong, this will help everything else. Let's say on your bench press, you've been focusing on your bench press, and your bench is going up. Your body weight movements like handstand push-ups and dips are going to improve. Let's say you're doing 315 in a deadlift, and we'll say your deadlift's 500 or 600 pounds, and there's a 315 deadlift in the workout. Okay, it's going to allow you to do the conditioning piece harder, become better at the conditioning. So when we do speed work, you're going to need that conditioning so that you can fuel those muscles in order to do the sets, so you can get better at doing your body weight movement. So it has a carryover to those, and you can never be too strong. So let's say we don't really like it a lot. You like to come in and do the 50-minute hero WODs where you can hide in the just slow and steady for 45 minutes and get a good sweat. Whenever the lifting is here, we kind of sandbag it a little bit, maybe don't push it all the way past our mental capacity and where we're a little bit afraid of the weight. So let's just give ourselves, we'll just say we'll go with 4 because we like it, but we don't really push ourselves on it. My second favorite thing on here, it is an expression of all of this stuff. If you're not consistently practicing it, you're not going to be good. If you don't have good range of motion, you're not going to be able to hold the bar overhead. Conditioning, maybe not so much in our workouts. It works because if we do a higher rep, then conditioning comes into that. But if you're doing a traditional weightlifting program and you're doing 1 to 4 reps, conditioning is there a little bit, but not so much. The unloaded bodyweight movements, have to master those because they're the same movements here. Can you do it with a PVC overhead or a bar overhead? Or can you just hold your arms overhead and squat? Basic strength, the stronger you get, the easier this weightlifting becomes. If you deadlift 600 pounds, you're probably gonna be able to clean 300 pounds. So getting stronger will help that, and then all these other things make you better at weightlifting. It has huge carryover into other sports and activities outside of the gym, and yet it's also its own sport. It really requires a mental focus on our movement. It's super anaerobic. It's like sprinting. Very short, quick activity, burns a lot of calories. It forces you to think about moving your body through space in relative to an object. So if you're trying to take a bar from the floor to overhead, it's going to require some focus and a serious mental game. And that's important because it helps work our coordination. It requires every muscle to fire as hard as possible from basically head to toe. It is really the only full body exercise that is explosive, requires strength, has a change of direction, and that is going to ramp our metabolism up and give us that post-exercise oxygen consumption where we burn a lot of calories outside of working out because it recruits so much to make this happen. So when we grade this, if we really don't like strength, we're probably not going to like weightlifting that much. Maybe we do, so we'll call it about an even and say maybe you skip those days where you see that it's just technique work on it. So we're going to go with a 5 on that. Give ourselves a 5 on the old weightlifting. Nutrition. This is all you. You've got 23 hours of the day. The 1 hour you're not in here working with us to decide how this goes, whether it's good, bad, whatever. Our job is to educate you and give you some of the tools so that you can take them out and act on them through like our nutrition challenges and either private coaching on that. But this is solely up to you. We can't control what you put in your mouth. So nutrition's up to you, but it has a giant carryover to the rest of the stuff, because if you're not eating right, you're not going to recover right. If you're not eating enough protein, then when you lift, you're breaking down muscle tissue and you're not recovering. You don't have enough carbohydrates, then your conditioning is going to be down and your volume of body weight movements is going to be hard. So getting the right macros in there so that you're eating the right foods and fueling yourself for your activity, whether it be a 5K, coming to the gym, or let's say you just want body composition and losing weight or losing body fat, nutrition's super important. Everyone likes to think they eat better than they do, so we're going to give ourselves a 7 on this one. But I bet if you had a coach looking at your food journal and going over some of that stuff, probably be down maybe closer to a 5 or a 4. But for the sake of this, that's where we're going to leave it. Sleep, another one that's really important. 100% up to you. You can't stay up all night watching Game of Thrones or Dexter or whatever it is that you're watching. So after you've worked out, you've got some solid nutrition in, and it's time to go sleep, get that 7 or so hours. I know that varies for person to person. Growth hormone is released when we sleep, helping us recover for all the things that activities we did that day. Most of us probably don't get enough sleep. We got really active lives. We have a lot of stuff going on, families, kids, all kinds of stuff like that pulls us in different directions from work to here at the gym. but it needs to be a priority so that we can make all the rest of these things better. So we're gonna give ourselves a 7 on this one as well, because we sleep pretty well. We could probably give ourselves another hour or so, go to bed a little bit earlier, just to make our next day a little bit easier. So for our overall general fitness, we are looking for these things to be all balanced out, like this outside circle, nice and perfect, perfectly round, all moving one on each other, allowing us to be good at everything and kind of bad at nothing. Maybe we won't be a specialized weightlifter, but that's okay. That's a sport. If we're looking for general fitness, then maybe we don't focus on that as much. Same thing if you want to run some marathons. This is going to have to probably come out a little bit more than some of these other things. But they all do have a huge effect on us when we're looking for that general fitness. So our consistency, we'll start with that, and we're just going to draw a line to the next one, range of motion, and then a line to our conditioning, and then our body weight, basic strength, weightlifting, nutrition, sleep. So not super balanced when you look at it like this. Our goal should be to improve each one of these tenets. So we're gonna come here with consistency. Let's say you're really only coming in twice a week. You bump that up to 3, maybe 4. Moves us out to here. Right? Now, we didn't really change anything else. But now, we're taking and rounding that out a little bit. You love the conditioning pieces. Yeah, you're okay at body weight. But let's say you decide, hey, I want to get a little bit stronger. I really like the lift days. I'm going to try to come in on the lift days. Maybe you're like, I'm going to go check out Barbell Club, see what that's all about. Just bump that up just a little bit. Now, look how this circle changes closer and closer to what we want with that balanced fitness and basically life and fitness together. You could even put one more thing in here, like a home life or something like that, that could also be a big effect on it. So that's what we're looking for, and we program all of this so that if you are consistently coming in, you will get a good balance of all of these things, and then your nutrition and sleep 100% up to you to help bring this thing into a circle.